Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, off to the start of another week, and we are going to wrap up our look at nickel corners in the draft. And again, I'm going to reiterate what I said yesterday. It's not a great crop. It's pretty lean. I could find only three guys who I would consider to be primarily inside cornerbacks who are available in the day three or possibly even UDFA portion of this draft. So we're going to get through this pretty quickly, but take note of these names. We have certainly used day three or UDFA selections on nickel cornerbacks before, and we've had some success with it. Jeremy Lane was a seventh round pick, I think. So would not be shocking if we ended up with one of these three guys. So let's talk about them briefly. First, we have Michael Wright from Oregon. A lot of people who watch my videos probably a little familiar with him because they watched him in college. Oregon Duck, 5'11", 173 pounds, so a little bit on the smaller side, but that's fine for a nickel corner. 4.5740, although I think he plays faster than that, and 30.5-inch arms, passable length. Again, we are talking about nickel corners here. It's a little less important to be super long. Has 2 years of significant production. The year that really kind of turned heads would, of course, be 2021. 65 tackles, 4 for loss, an interception, 4 pass deflections. He actually had 9 pass deflections the previous year, so he did showcase some ball skills. But overall, this is obviously not anything spectacular. The Draft Network and ESPN think he'll be a 7th round pick. CBS actually likes him all the way up in the late 3rd or early 4th. I think that's a little silly, but I think you are looking at a day 3 pick for Michael Wright. So the things about him that are positive are that he is a good athlete. He's quick. I wouldn't call him fast, but I would call him quick. He's a better than average tackler. He's a capable tackler, especially when it comes to preventing yards after the catch. He does a good job wrapping up and bringing down receivers after they bring the ball in. He's got good body control, and he's scheme diverse. He can play man or zone both fairly effectively, I think. So if we truly are doing a hybrid this year between those two things, that's valuable. The issues with Michael Wright would be that even though he's a willing tackler, even though I think he's overall a pretty good tackler, guys who are bigger than him are just going to be able to run him over a little bit. When it comes to tackling like bigger running backs, it's going to be a challenge for him because he's only a buck 73. So when it comes to tackling receivers after the catch, sure, but bigger running backs, a little bit harder. He lacks length and his ball skills are questionable. Okay, now we're going to do another Houston Cougar cornerback. I talked about one of his buddies in the secondary yesterday, but now we have Damarion Williams, 5'10", 182 pounds, 4.540, but this was not a actual 40 time. This was a projected 40 time, I believe. I don't know what his actual 40 time is because I couldn't find any history of him running one. I don't think he has great top end speed, so this is probably pretty close. 29.6-inch arms, not great there. But he had 3 productive years at Houston. 2019, probably his most productive overall. 73 tackles, 5.5 for loss, 2 picks, 5 passes defensed, forced fumble. 2020, he didn't play that much. 2021, he got back to form. 63 tackles, a pick, and 8 passes defensed. Most of the big boards have him getting drafted in the 5th to 6th, maybe even the 7th round. ESPN and CBS, ESPN thinks he's on the cusp of the 7th round, but leaning undrafted. CBS thinks he's undrafted, so you're probably looking at like a 7th round pick or a UDFA slot for Damarion Williams. And there is a little bit of flexibility here. He has potential ability at all DB positions, outside, inside, safety. He did all of that stuff at Houston. He knows how to do that stuff. Now, I don't know if you want him on the outside in the NFL because he's got short arms and a short body, but he did it at Houston. He's agile and fast enough for man defense. He's knowledgeable enough for zone. He really knows how to read like route combinations and know where he's supposed to be in zone. He works hard in run defense, although it doesn't always pay off for him. And his ball skills are overall pretty decent. He made a decent chunk of plays on the ball in his college career, 20 PDs over 3 years. Pretty good. The issues with Damarion Williams are that he's small and weak. Like I said, he works hard in run defense, That doesn't mean he always makes the tackle. He is small. Some guys are going to run him over. He lacks top end speed. 4.540 is estimated, but again, it's probably pretty close to the truth. So he doesn't have the wheels that will allow him to keep up with really fast receivers, and defending slot receivers, that often matters. And like I said, he can get run over a little bit. This is something you'll see with a lot of nickel corners, I think, but it's worth pointing out regardless. Nevertheless, that is Damarion Williams of Houston. We're talking about a guy here who will be lucky to be drafted. At the end of the day, he will be lucky to get drafted. So if you bring him in with absolutely no risk into training camp to see what he can do, obviously there's nothing wrong with that. But he was one of the few guys who was on my radar as a potential nickel cornerback for the Seahawks out of this draft. Last guy is Durant. This guy played at a small school, South Carolina State. 5'10", 180 pounds, 4.3840, really fast, especially for a guy who's not projected to be drafted highly, and almost 31-inch arms. Pretty good. Measurables are nice. He was productive across 4 years. Because he played for such a small school, I couldn't find all of his stats. I actually had to go to some obscure website that may or may not even be taken all that seriously by the average person, because I'm assuming they probably had a couple of guys keeping stats, and it's not necessarily run through any official process, right? You're just having some guys come together and estimate it the best they can when you're talking about a smaller school. But nevertheless, he did rack up a decent chunk of tackles every year except for 2020, and he also racked up interceptions. He had 12 across 4 years, including 10 over the last 3. Pretty good ball skills. ESPN thinks and CBS have him going around the 7th. Walter Football has him in the same rough area. So you are probably looking at a 7th round pick or a UDFA, like the Draft Network sees him as. So not a big expenditure of resources to bring in Durant. He was highly productive in college, like I said. I mean, 12 interceptions in 4 years, really good. He's got great awareness of the field, great understanding of where to be, great understanding of where the ball's going to go and where he needs to go to make a play. He's a really good athlete. Not only is he fast, but he's agile, moves well, good coverage skills. He's got awesome ball skills. He's got high potential in zone and man. He can do both of those things. He's fast enough for man. He's savvy enough for zone. And he does have even a little bit of outside corner ability, although, again, that's at the college level. And that segues into one of the issues that he has. He played weak opponents in college. You're not playing good opposition at South Carolina State, so it's going to be a big, big transition for him to make to be good in the NFL. Also, his small size does interfere with his ability to make plays sometimes. Like, sometimes he's got the read, but his relatively small frame can't make the play. Granted, again, most nickel corners are smaller, so this is not a complaint specific to him. And that is it for the nickel corners I see in this draft. I'm not particularly enamored with any of these guys, but none of them are going to cost significant resources. Like Durant, for a UDFA slot, you're talking about getting a guy with great speed, decent length, and a lot of college production, right? So you can't go that wrong with it. So I guess he would be my favorite, but it's hard to say if there's a whole lot here. All right. That's it for nickel corners. Tomorrow we're going to be moving on to positions of less severe need, starting with left guard. And we're not too far away from wrapping this up. So see you guys later today. Hopefully see you on Twitch, and go Hawks.